Well, hello, Stephanie. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here too. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Like I just said before I hit record, when your publicist reached out and told me about your new book, The Big Book of Pregnancy Nutrition, and the mission behind the book, which is to really alleviate stress for expectant mothers. I mean, the alignment was perfect. So, of course, I had to have you on. But to get us started, would you mind giving us a bird's eye view of the events in your life that led you to work in nutrition and specifically to help people in this major stage of life, pregnancy?
Yes, it's sort of been a funny journey. It's a second career for me. So I used to be in healthcare public relations, which built a lot of skills in terms of how to communicate to people so they're actually going to listen. You become a mini expert in things very quickly. So it was a wonderful background to what I do now. Decided I didn't want the PR, but I liked the healthcare component of it. And back in the day, I literally opened US News Report's top grad schools. And I was like, Berkeley, California, what do they have? Because it was really before nutrition was a popular industry. And so I really, did my research. I settled, I landed on NYU. I was able to get a great internship at a private practice and realized that that's specifically the space that I really liked. And so 2010, I started my own private practice and it just grew and grew organically. And along the way, I started to do a lot of media work back when there was a lot of actual magazines and
Mm.
newspapers and doing full stories, which I loved again because of my PR background and just the messages to be able to offer fresh perspectives in a way that people can understand, I think is just and can make action. I think is really, really important. And along the way, when my son was 6 months, I got approached to write my first book, The Big Book of Organic Baby Food. Which was, I was literally living it as I was writing the book, and that got cranked out pretty quickly. And then the second book, The Big Book of Organic Baby Food, I was literally writing when I went into labor with my second daughter, The Big Book of Organic
Uh,
Baby Food. Yeah. And editing it postpartum felt like a little rushed of a baby. And then, I saw how The Big Book of Organic Baby Food, the comments I would get from parents was like, this has become a Bible. I was so stressed about this period of time. Thank you so much for providing this great resource. For me and my family, it's such a gift. I can give to my nanny, I can give to my grandparents. And I started working in my practice a ton with pregnant women and postnatal women. And I saw the same questions. There were so many fears and struggles. Women were terrified that they were eating the wrong thing. And there really wasn't, because I kept being, what's the resources? Where are you getting your information? There was a lot of Googling. There really wasn't this one place that felt like a calm place to give people tools, um, where they would get all this credible information from. And so the idea has been in the making for a long time. I probably started the book proposal 3 years ago. And so here we are with this third book.
do you feel like the first book kind of fell in your lap? Like it was just almost like a serendipitous thing, and then it just blew up bigger than you could even imagine?
100%. It literally fell in my lap. And I was like, I'm just going to put out a book. This sort of was my attitude. I was like, I wrote a book. Here it is.
Wow.
And I could not have imagined that it has had the impact that it has. It sold practically 450,000 copies, over 1,000 copies a week on Amazon alone. So it
Wow.
still is mind blowing to me. And it came out in 2016. So the fact that it's still received so well and so relevant means so much. And a lot of it's not like it's such new information. Like, I just think it's how it's packaged and explained and the tone, which I think makes all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you say like nutrition is not a lecture. It's not supposed to be a lecture. It's supposed to be a conversation.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that in this book too, because it's not like, okay, this is what you eat, this is what you don't eat, eat breakfast, don't eat breakfast. It's really like, let's discover what's going on with you and then let's
Yeah.
fit nutrition. Can you kind of expand on that? Because
Yeah.
let's pretend a new mom or a mom to be is listening to this right now. She's like, okay, I want to get the goods. What do I
Yeah.
need to know? What do most moms, new moms, moms to be don't know?
Yeah.
And how can I really give my best to this baby?
Yeah, I mean, and that's also like another reason why I wrote this book, because I felt even as a dietitian, I went into my first pregnancy and there's times where I acted reactively instead of proactively. And I had that feeling of like, why didn't I know this? And why didn't anyone tell me this? And I wish I had come prepared. So part of the book is to, even if you don't follow what I say, it's to open the doors to have conversations with your doctor or your care team, just to be more aware of certain things along through pregnancy, through all the trimesters and through postpartum. So that was really like a big purpose of mine, and literally taking notes where my clients were having issues throughout. But one of my main things, just to start off the bat, whenever I meet with clients or talk with people, I want all pregnant women to get blood work at the start of their pregnancy or right before they get pregnant. Because when we do talk, sure, there's nutrition can be broad, but we want for pregnancy, this has to, at any stage, it has to be very specific to you. So women are going in, 50% of women are going in with some sort of nutritional deficiency. And when you have the conversation about prenatals, I don't know about you, but for me, my doctor was like, sure, take one. And I was like,
Yeah.
I need a vitamin D. And he was like, maybe. And I was like, huh? Like, that's not enough information for me. So I really wanted specific blood work that I think is so important to take. One is vitamin D, because most people are going to be deficient, and most prenatals only have 600 IUs. And if you think about it, most women are going to need 2,000, 3,000, 4,000.
Wow.
And even if your blood work might say, okay, you're within range and it's 32 is within range, it's still not optimal because your needs are so much higher. So I'd like to see women closer to 40 at least, right, heading into their pregnancy, to build that up even more. So that for me is one that's super important. And we know vitamin D is important for bone health and immune support and mood, right? There's so many benefits there. Another one is B12. So about like 38 to 40% of women actually are deficient in it, or are deficient by the time they're heading into delivery.
Wow.
And what a lot of people don't know is when you take birth control for many years, like I was on the pill for 15 years, it depletes your body of so many nutrients, specifically the B vitamins.
I did not know that. Wow.
So B12, and when you think about B6 and your nausea, like, not to say that birth control is the sole cause of it, but magnesium, selenium, zinc, there's a lot of nutrients that get depleted from being on the birth control pill. So if you are one of those women, I was definitely get your B12 tested. Let's see where you are. If you're on the lower end, I would make sure that you're, again, maybe supplementing in addition to what your birth control might have. And B12, you can't, it's a water soluble vitamin, so I wouldn't be worried that you're going to have too much, and you can get retested. Another one is iron, because that's a big one for me, because your blood volume increases by 50%. So your needs are so much higher in pregnancy. They're like 1.5 times greater. So even if you don't, at the start, you might not be anemic, but definitely by the second and third trimester, a lot of women become deficient in iron. So it's not just get it in the beginning, but make sure it's tracked throughout your pregnancy, especially if you're feeling fatigued, rapid heartbeat, that showed up for me. Cool, can't get warm. So there's lots of different signs there, and it's a relatively easy test to get. And then the last one, hemoglobin A1C. So this tests your blood sugar over a 2 to 3 month span. And in pregnancy, you have the glucose screening test. Most women don't get that until week 24 to week 28. It obviously depends on your facility and your doctor. But if you at the start have your hemoglobin A1C is like 5, 7 or above, most likely that's a sign you will develop gestational diabetes. So why wait till your middle, almost like a end of pregnancy to make changes, when you can start at least to be aware of it and make some changes at the start. So that's one thing that I just really want more women to get, is to get a sense for them personally where they might need to make some tweaks in order to have a smoother pregnancy with less complications down the road.
Yeah. And I would imagine too, like so many women probably see doctors that were like yours that really aren't trained on this. This is not their forte at all. And so they're like, well, if my doctor's not worried, I guess I'm not going to be. But that's not the case, you know? And we all want to do this massive undertaking the best way we can. I think any mother does. You know, if you are going through this, you want to do the best that you can. You don't want to just survive it. You want to thrive through it.
Honestly,
So,
yeah.
well, I mean, what would you recommend for them who maybe don't have the best doctor, or, you know, even if there's someone highly rated, but they're just not in tune with this kind of information?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is you can always it's always to be an advocate for yourself, right? So I pushed and I would recommend push to get the blood work done, right? So even though like, you don't need it, ask why they wouldn't do it.
Mm,
I would say I would seek out a a registered dietitian that's trained in this that can really like be a coach and help you through this. You know, some people really work with other practitioners that are trained in this, like some doulas and midwives, you know, are aware of it. But it's definitely you have to have these conversations with your doctor to push for it. And if you're still uncomfortable, yeah, I would say talk to a registered dietitian just to help set you up at the start of pregnancy with all of this. I think that's
yeah.
really important. You know, as it goes with prenatal supplements, same thing with the doctors, right? Like you might have a friend or you've done your own research, but oftentimes they're not going to really that they aren't really sort of looking at the breakdown of prenatals necessarily to give you what you need. Like not all prenatals have choline in it, which is definitely a new and upcomer that's really important for brain health. As I said, some are really low in vitamin D, some don't have iron in it, some don't have calcium in it. So you sort of really got to navigate this, and truthfully you will be fine, but like you said, you want to maximize it. This is your
Right.
time, right? You want to have all the information so that you can do the best you can during this phase of your life.
Absolutely. So just to kind of rewind all of that, like what I'm getting from this is vitamin D is probably one of the most important
Mhm.
supplements that we should be getting throughout the entire pregnancy, even before choline.
Yep.
What about omega 3s?
Yes, huge one, huge omega-3. So you want one that's going to have DHA and EPA. Some of them just have DHA in them. Again, for brain support, super important. A lot of women, so you can get it. I mean, fish is the best way to get it. There is a form called ALA, and that's going to be for more plant-based sources like walnuts and chia, which are incredibly healthy. They're just not going to be absorbed the same way and utilized the same way in pregnancy. So it's really
Mm,
looking for the DHA and EPA for the benefits in pregnancy specifically. Um, and so, yes, so a lot of women don't want to eat fish during pregnancy, which is a good way to supplement it, which I understand, or get enough. Ideally, I would love women to eat 2 to 3 servings of fish a week, but that doesn't always happen. But we really want the brain support for DHA and EPA. So I have a section in the book called Supplementing Your Supplements.
mm.
And that vitamin D is on there, and DHA, EPA definitely are on there as well. It's key.
This is huge. I mean, this is huge. I mean, I would imagine that every nutritionist out there needs a copy of this book just to be like, here you go. Like, I've told you everything I know, but you might want to have this just so you can reference it on the daily to get this vital information, because it's almost like you forget too. You know, it's like, okay, I'm gung-ho about this now, and then life happens.
Totally, 100%. And I can relate to that. I can 100% relate to that. And the other one, iron, is like you mentioned, like what other key nutrients, like the choline, the DHA,
Mhm.
and the iron. So if some people don't like to put it in their prenatal originally because they feel like they might get constipated or some stomach issues along the way. And that's fine. Just get tested, because there's other iron then you might need to take later if you don't want it in your prenatals originally. And there's an iron bisglycinate. It's just easier to tolerate than some other forms of iron. So that's going to be like a specific form of iron to take. That's going to
Oh,
be,
that's interesting. That's
yeah.
another one I've never heard of that particular word before.
When you look on the label, exactly, because iron can be having hemorrhoids and being constipated is not is not a joyful thing in pregnancy, that's for sure. And just to speak on the iron, I mean, that's why we do encourage, if you can, to eat some animal products, meat, I mean, organ meats, that's important. Also, though, cooking in a cast iron skillet is really important, because that can really enhance the iron from the food that you're cooking. So even if it's vegetables, and adding some vitamin C to the iron that you're cooking. So again, it could be citrus, it could be tomato sauce with some meat sauce, peppers, anything along those lines, just to boost your iron stores.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I've had a cast iron skillet, I think, for the past 15 years. It's like perfectly seasoned now. And
Yes.
we use it almost every day with our eggs. And it's like, it's
huge.
huge.
It's huge. It should be on your registry.
Yeah.
It is totally underutilized, but amazing once you have it.
Yeah, it's a great hack to get it in. Like, why
It is
not?
a great hack. And then another supplement that I would talk about would be probiotics, because especially in the third trimester, that's where the studies are showing that having a probiotic. So what we know about probiotics, it's good for our gut health and populating healthy bacteria, which we all want, but specifically in pregnancy, what it does is it helps, the scientists showing it helps reduce or minimize the chances of chronic disease in kids, like asthma, eczema, food allergies. So it's really worthwhile. And I also say, for those who know they might have a C-section, right? Again, whether or not the baby's breached or for whatever reason, you're losing an opportunity to get those probiotics through the birth canal. So that's where I really say, for women, take a probiotic, and you might consider giving your baby a probiotic, because there's these powders that you can give them pretty early on, that you can put on your nipple, or you can put them in their bottle, whatever it is. So it's just based on your circumstances. I would definitely encourage it. My son, once I started to push, I spiked a fever, and immediately he had to be put on an antibiotic. They were worried about an infection. I had to be put on an antibiotic. Wiped out his gut bacteria. Not the only reason, but he did develop eczema. He did develop food allergies and sensitive lungs. So it was one of those things that, like, I wish I had known this, and I would have done some things differently there.
I know. But I think that that's what the beautiful thing about you putting out a book like this, and all of your previous work too. It's like, you have learned from the mistakes that we all went through. You just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And you're stopping that cycle by this. You're like, hey, new moms to be, like, I got you.
That's exactly it. And it's not just I also feel so fortunate that I'm in a practice, and I'm working with clients on a day-to-day basis. So it's my experiences, and also filtering these questions and experiences from my pregnant clients as well. But that's exactly the premise there.
Do your kids know, like, the impact that you're making in the world, the people that you're helping, the work that you do? Do they understand? I mean, I know you dedicated the book to them.
My son is so funny. So it was last year, he's in third grade now, but it was last year. I remember we were walking with, like, a group of parents, moms, and he was talking to one mom. He's like, so my mom tells people what to eat. And he's like, I know moms do that. We all tell people what to eat. He's like, no, my mom really tells people, like, what to eat to be healthy. And she's like, yeah, like, we do that. She's like, no, my mom's a nutritionist. It was very funny. And he'll come in, virtual sessions, and he'll be like, Mom, did you tell them about energy bites, how healthy energy bites are, and they're great for their kids? And my daughter, like, made a chart of, like, healthy food. It was very cute. It was very, very cute. So, but they just want to be in the book. They want photos in the book. Actually, and they want to take pictures with the book. So they have an awareness of it, and they're proud. I think on my end, I try not to make too much at home, right? I don't want them, obviously, like, I know it's a blessing and a curse to know so much about nutrition at all different ages. So I want to take I try to be cool at home in terms of not being stressed about what they're eating, and have them be normal kids at home and have normal food at home.
Yeah, but I think too, I mean, once this is in your awareness, it's almost like you can't really go back, or at least you can't fully give in to like the standard American diet. And, I guess if they go over to friends, whatever, they're gonna have dinner,
Okay.
whatever they're eating, that's fine. But for
Yes.
me, it's like, once it's like, it's really, really hard to kind of you can't put the lid back on.
100%. And I think there's certain areas that my kids know I'm more concerned about, like food dyes, for
Yeah.
example, right? So I'm cool with getting ice cream, but like the ice cream that is like the fake ice cream, that you get from the food truck, they know mommy doesn't love that. And thankfully they're like, this doesn't taste like anything. And I was like,
Hmm.
great, let's go get like great, like fresh homemade ice cream. So there's certain things that they know that are more important to me than others. But yes, it's the controllables at the home. And then when they're out, it's like, let them be kids, let them sort of eat what their friends are eating to try and, you know, um, not make them obsessed about food.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to kind of some of the tenets from the book, I love how you
Yeah.
address things that a lot of women are scared to eat and feel like
Mhm.
they can't indulge in. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm one of those bad moms who ate sushi throughout my entire pregnancy and loved it. And I don't have any regrets, honestly.
Good. Good. No, and that's the beauty of it. It's like you can eat sushi from a good place. Please do not get it from a supermarket. Get it from a high quality place that you trust. There's when you look at the CDC and the data, there's very little uh there's dangers from like from a bacterial standpoint of women consuming sushi. So it is definitely a yes if you feel comfortable. Some people don't feel comfortable. But I also think it's actually a nice way for some women to get in fish. For some reason, like they
Yeah.
can get it into a roll, but they can't. The thought of eating like a steak of salmon is like gross for them. But for some reason, like it's another opportunity to get in some fish. So sushi, definitely, as long as it's from a reputable source, you can enjoy it. That's for sure. There were some others that let's see that are borderline. Like eggs. I mean, I think you have to know where your eggs are coming from. So if you're sourcing them, if you know they're from a local farm or they're pasture raised, they're good eggs, and you want them runny, that's okay. I mean, I think if you're out somewhere, maybe be more, maybe have them cooked a little bit more when you don't really know when they're coming from. I think that's like a borderline one. Cheese, really, it's amazing. So yes, you want to eat pasteurized cheese. There's a lot of confusion around soft cheeses too. So
Yeah.
the confusing thing there is that soft cheeses will also be pasteurized. It's just that when they're soft, there's more moisture, so bacteria can breed in them, which people get more concerned about. But really, I think it's 1 in 5 million chance of listeria from like the CDC of someone getting sick from it. So it's still relatively low. But for some reason, that's also like a scary point for some women where they rather like pass on the soft cheeses and just stick to what they know is pasteurized, which you could see on the label, or you can obviously ask at a store to figure that out. They do say the smoked deli meats, yes, you can heat them up. But I'd say personally, I'm like skip the turkey.
At any point in life.
At any point, I mean, at any point in life, it's not that great for you. Smoked
Right.
salmon was very hard for me. I would say in my second pregnancy, I definitely forgot I was pregnant a few times and had it. And like women have smoked salmon, and it's like obviously not a big deal, but still, that is one that I would say skip. I had a big smoked salmon bagel platter waiting for me
Mm.
in in the hospital. I was so excited about that. Um, Vegetables. So this is a topic that it like so hard for me because if you actually see listeria breakouts, a lot of it is these days coming from vegetables. I say don't buy pre-chopped vegetables when you're pregnant. So rather buy the whole vegetable, wash it, chop it up yourself. So there's going to be more chance of getting a bacterial illness in these pre-chopped vegetables, and also these salads that have been sitting at a grocery
Mhm.
store for a while. I say don't do that. If you want your salads, get it from a restaurant that you know is good, that you trust, that's good quality. A lot of people have fear about vegetables, and even juices. I really wouldn't get some of the prepackaged as much. I would make your own juice or watch that they're making it in front of you. So I really, there's more harm in juices than there are in non-pre-cooked vegetables or salads that have been sitting around than there are from, say, cheese and sushi, unfortunately, because we want, obviously, women to get in their vegetables.
Yeah. And I would think too, like getting the whole vegetable from, like a farmer's market, or like I go to this Buford Highway farmer's market here, and it's like you basically travel the world and everything's just like it's an ingredient supermarket basically. But it's so much cheaper, and you just have
Right.
to do a little legwork at
Yes.
home, but you
100%.
get better stuff, and it's way more cost efficient.
Yeah. And honestly, usually it's fresher, tastes better too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
you just have to get used to it 100%. And these, listen, things that you learn in pregnancy, like this is the point, is like skills to take with you
Yeah.
through postpartum as well.
Yeah. And one big thing I really want to hit home is like nutrition is so huge for how we deal with that postpartum period of our
Yes.
lives where everything is upturned, not just physically, but emotionally and everything else. It's such a huge change. Like I feel like we birth a baby, but we are also being birthed as mothers during that
Yeah.
time. So to have
Yeah.
the right ingredient, to have the right nutrition changes everything.
It changes everything. And I think we don't, this is why I wanted my book to go through postpartum, through that fourth trimester, because it just doesn't stop once you have the baby. And a lot of women, it's like suddenly you have the baby and all the attention is paid
Mhm.
to the baby and so little on the mom. And I think right now we're at a point where so much more attention is being paid to these women postpartum. And you're just seeing a lot of depletion, right? Just from a nutrient perspective. You carried a baby for 10 months and then you went through labor, which is pretty much going through a marathon.
Mhm.
And we're just not replenishing ourselves and taking care of ourselves in the proper way. A lot of people aren't even still taking their supplements, right? They just like stop immediately. Especially if you're nursing, like your
Yeah.
body is going through so much and there's tons of anxiety, and that could be related to nutritional deficiencies. Iodine increases 50% in pregnancy. Not enough women are getting it, and iodine deficiency has been linked to thyroid issues in pregnancy. So that's one thing also, like postpartum, I really want my like pregnant women to get checked out of their thyroid levels, because if you're feeling off, like there could be a bunch of different things, but it could be a thyroid issue.
Mm.
People are so relieved once they sort of find out what's going on with their body. I think that's really important to know. But iodine, I mean, we get that from yogurt and cheese, dairy, but also from seaweed, kelp. Like that's just a wonderful way to get in some like good quality iodine there. And to also slow down in the recovery for postpartum.
Mm.
I think so many, I just see it just like racing to recover. And you don't recover in 6 weeks when you have that postpartum. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
some people physically feel okay, but your body, emotionally, everything that's going on, it really takes up to 2 years to fully recover your body. It
Yeah.
really does. So there needs to be a big grace period there.
I
And I
love
tell
that.
most women, please don't even worry about weight for those first 3 months, postpartum.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
it's crazy. I remember I got called to do a Good Morning America 3 weeks postpartum after
Wow.
my first. And it was and it's one of my biggest regrets that I did. I was like, why did I do that?
Well, I mean, I get it.
You got it, right? But I felt physically like I can do this, but my brain was, you're just still a mush. You're still a mush. Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing with the postpartum, it's just you need similar nutrients as you do when you're in pregnancy. You just need more, is
Mm.
essentially what it is. You need more protein, you need more fat, you need more of the complex carbohydrates, you need more hydration, you need more of the iron. So your needs, where they say you need 300 calories when you're pregnant, you need 500 calories when you're postpartum, especially if you're nursing. There is this hunger that you have never felt before, like ever. Did you feel that postpartum?
Yeah, and just like extreme fatigue from producing breast milk. I was like, this is harder almost than when I was pregnant, like
100%.
producing.
producing 100% harder, and you're more fatigued from lack of sleep as well. And you also just lost a ton of iron, right? During birth. Like women are surprised how tired and how hungry they are postpartum. Which is why I also wanted to have some recipes that you could freeze in advance, or start to organize your thoughts about what's the food going to look like postpartum for you. Some people do a food meal train, some at least knowing the places you might want to order from. Is there someone that could come and help cook, a family member, a friend? You know, people really want to help. So I feel like it's figuring out what they can do, and providing some food for you is so important, as you're trying to provide food for your little one. And I also think with this postpartum nursing, your experience for nursing can so make or break your postpartum experience. If it doesn't go the way it's planned, that is so hard for so many women. So I like, nursing is amazing, but it's hard. And I want women to know that if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And I want them to the good news. I think there's so many more options now, like on the market, in terms of good quality formulas, or, you can, there's ways, even if you do breast milk, you can like freeze it and put it into powder. There's just other options to look at, and to start to think of a plan B for it in the event that it doesn't work out. I just feel like from an emotional standpoint, that's going to be really critical.
Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest obstacle that so many women trip over. It's like this feeling of shame, like I thought I was going to do this great and I'm failing. And it's like, no, you're not getting enough iron, or you're not getting enough iodine. Like, it's not that. It's the nutrition and it's the expectations.
The expectations, absolutely. And just even atomically, like it just might not work out for you and your body, right? There's mastitis, like there's lots of issues along the ways. I just kept thinking like, I'm going to make it to the first month. And then after that, if I can make it to 3 months, and then 6 months, and sort of keep going until it doesn't feel right anymore. And that is just sort of my advice for everyone, is just like, take it in baby steps for you, for your sanity, and for your health of you and your baby. I think I was lucky enough where I was one of the last out of my friends to get pregnant. And so many of my pregnant friends shared how hard nursing was. So I went in with the expectation of like, this might not work. And that's okay. Right. So I think I just, again, it's one of those things just to be aware of and have the advice there.
Yeah. I love it. Well, we are just over time. Stephanie, if there were any final message that you would want to leave with the woman listening to this, what would that be?
That's a really good question. What would be I think, again, you're going to be your best advocate. That's going to be most important. So please just have the dialogue with your doctors or your care team. So you feel prepared, you feel like you're getting the care that you need, that they're listening to you and what's going on. I will say this for a few others. There's one other point where I feel like a lot of clients like are surprised, and I was surprised. It's the glucose screening test, which is that first 1 hour test where you have to drink like the 50 grams of glucola. That's gross, and then they test your blood sugar after. It is not a fasting test, that first one. So many, for some reason, my doctor and other doctors tell patients that it's a fasting test. It's not. It's not. So, and you're setting yourself up for more failure, because if you think about, you're drinking 50 grams of sugar on an empty stomach versus drinking 50 grams of sugar on a super high protein breakfast, like yogurt and nuts, or eggs and avocado, right? Something along those lines. Your chances of passing are going to be higher for that 1 hour test. So one thing I want everyone to know about that, and there is also, I don't know if you've seen, there's something called the Fresh test, which is a dye-free test that you can get online, which is super cool. I wish it was around when I had my babies.
Same.
And what you do, just show your doctor, it's online, just like bring it to the doctor and say, I'd like to do this. It's like verified it's approved by the FDA. And hopefully they'll be open to it. If you want to do that, route. It tastes better and it's free of dyes, but otherwise it's like pretty much the same. So again, there are options out there. So that would be another sticking point where I want some people to be aware of what those tests are and actually how to prepare for them.
That's actually huge. And I feel like that we do have so many medical professionals tuning into this show. And I wonder if they knew this. Because I for sure remember them saying, don't eat anything before this. And I was starving that morning. I can remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. And you go on to like ACOG. I even had to so many times keep doing the research and speaking to doctors being like, wait, you don't have to fast, right? For the 3-hour one, you have to fast. That's if you failed the first one, and then you have to then take a 3-hour one. That is fasting. But the first one is not fasting. So yeah,
Wow.
but to your point, do bring a good snack afterwards, because most likely like you have to chug 50 grams of sugar in like under 5 minutes. So most likely you're not going to be feeling well, especially if you're not used to having that much like sugar in your
Right.
day. Yeah. And some people who are eating lower carbs, it can show up as a false positive because again, your body's not used to consuming that much sugar. So it's going to be more reactive, which makes sense.
Mm.
So there's ways around that. Again, you cannot take the test and check your blood sugar at home, or some people slowly introduce a little bit more carbs before they take the test. Again, talk to your doctor, feel it out, see what's right for you.
Wow. That's huge. That alone right there. That's worth the price of listening to this show right there. Stephanie, thank you so much. Again, the book is The Big Book of Pregnancy and Nutrition, The Big Book of Pregnancy Nutrition, Everything Expectant Moms Need to Know for a Happy, Healthy 9 Months and Beyond. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to my audience today. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so fun.